viewers, you are welcome to Issues in the News on 9 News Nigeria. My name is Nsidvo Doite, your regular presenter. And co-anchoring this program with me this day is Na Douglas.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Nigerians, for joining us on Issues in the News on 9 News Nigeria.
Issues in the News is a program that brings you all the topical issues. And in today's edition, we will be looking at the aftermath of the tribunal's ruling towards the judgment of the presidential election. To do justice to this very topical issue, I have to my immediate right Dr. Abubakar Sadiq Ahmed. He is the National Coordinator, National Progressive Network. He is also the Deputy Director of Media FCT.
Thank you very much. Good to have me.
And to my extreme right in the studio, I have the pleasure of welcoming Ambassador Victor Atewe.
Thank you.
He is a media consultant and a political analyst. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Viewers, don't go away. It's going to be an interesting time. Before we look into today's topic, let us listen to the speech and the reaction of Mr. Peter Obi regarding the tribunal's judgment.
6th of September 2023, the Presidential Election Petition Court, APC, finally delivered its long-awaited judgments on petitions challenging the outcome of the presidential election held on 25th of February 2023. This judgment was delivered within the statutory time frame under the extant status. We acknowledge the court's contributions to due process and seeming attempt to strengthen our democracy. As petitioners in this case, we respect the views and ruling of the court, but we disagree with the court's reasoning and conclusions in the judgment it delivered. It is my intention as the presidential candidate and intention of Labour Party to challenge this judgment by way of appeal immediately as allowed by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The APC has rendered its judgment, but that esteemed body is not the final arbiter. The responsibility now falls on the Supreme Court. I do know that the judgment is not conterminous with justice. I implore Nigerians to remain focused, steadfast, and peaceful, and to abide by the rule of law and understand this matter has not reached its logical conclusion. Our legal team has already received our firm instruction to file an appeal against the decision. I shall not relent in quest for justice, not necessarily for myself, but for indeed for our teeming supporters all over Nigeria, whose mandate to us at the post was regrettably truncated by INEC. The strength and value of our democracy reside on solid national institutions and our confidence in them. Electoral litigations will almost be unnecessary and non-existent if the Independent National Electoral Commission discharges its statutory functions creditably, transparently, and with tenable fairness. When that body fails, as it did recently, thus subverting the will of Nigerian voters, the recourse to judiciary becomes imperative, as is now the case. I thank every Nigerian who has supported our cause and campaign for a new Nigeria, characterized by fairness, equity, justice, rule of law, peace, prosperity, inclusiveness, sustainable growth and development. A new Nigeria is possible and achievable. I especially thank our legal team, the Labour Party and the obedient family, and all those who showed up daily during our court trials. God bless you all and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
You have heard the speech and the reaction of Mr. Peter Obi regarding the ruling of the tribunal. My first question will be to you, Dr. Abubakar Sadiq. I know you are of the APC party, and I can see the smile of a winner. What do you make out of this judgment, even though some people are aggrieved about it?
Thank you very much. We definitely knew that elections tribunals, so presidential election tribunals in Nigerian history, have always been where whoever didn't end up winning believed that he won. And after the dragging, they've never been tribunal in Nigeria, precisely with the presidential election tribunal, that end up making a U-turn where you see that the person who petitioned end up becoming winner. But it comes with every elections. Mind you, in the 2021 elections, I remember when CPC took it to the court, and the claim were they won election via pre-elections, not pre-elections matters. So we in the parties are knowing very well that election tribunal really deal with what transpire at the elections mostly, and maybe an aggrieved party where you feel like the votes that were counted as so place were against you mostly. So if you have that knowledge of the before tribunals, not preempting the process that yield to the tribunal that we just encountered, it will interest you to know that on that day, if anybody had his eyes on the news, on the tribunal that were televised, it took just 4 hours trying to deal with issues that were pre-elections matters and trashing after deliberately, extensively to what the claims are and how does it clear off issues. That alone gave us, from a party mandate mindset, we knew that if you're claiming and you're not claiming to be the winner, we rather don't know what the oppositions were thinking, because it is okay when you feel like aggrieved or not certain with something. But where there's an issue, it was the first time that instigations were made, not even billboards in all over FCT, an attempt to stop rally, which was trying to instigate the judiciary to do otherwise, or thinking of pressurizing the system that ordinarily operates free from even executive or any legislative interference. But for the first time in Nigeria, we saw billboards that were pulled down, claiming to be which of the which was claiming to be victory. Is it the second person or the first person? The combined forces that was divided to give us the victory is still undivided process that even at the tribunal, you rather know whether who was waiting to be sworn in or who was waiting to be. And there was no claim specifically among the claim of a number that sum up a victory for either team. B in the name, Atiku Abubakar, who happened to be the second, based on the elections result that was announced. Whether he made up a number that he said this is the total number that is supposed to be for him to be declared winner, or the party C, who is Labour Party, Peter Obi, claiming that this is a total vote that was made out of in the summation of what was presented before the Presidential Election Tribunal. So it was easier for the tribunal, after striking from what the basis is of the character of a person involved in the primaries of another party, being influenced by another party's decision, either with the one that has to do with the partnership of who he peers as someone who he picked as a vice, or whether he is dealt with the issues that has to do with his own character.
You were pleased. That means you were pleased with the
We were very pleased.
Okay, Dr. Sadiq, let's come to Ambassador Victor. He said something, and I got a highlight from what he said, that it's difficult to upturn a presidential election at the tribunal, of which most Nigerians will really agree with him. Now, does it call for concern?
Of course, it called for concern. Just to take a cue from what he said, given from 1999 to date, it has been a mission impossible to have a sitting president, of course, and tribunal speak otherwise. Before this day plans out, we all know, to be honest, that if we get a different thing, it's going to be a miracle, which we hope that, the judiciary will, of course, will prove itself to be independent. But what we saw on that day was a played script by the judiciary.
How do you mean?
Yes, good. So you see what happened, talking about the pre-election matters that the judiciary strike off, talking about the vice president issued of a nomination. The law is clear to say that now, even if it takes a day of your nomination, you pick up a form in, you're nominated for a senatorial and the VP, you understand, automatically you'd stand disqualified, but the judiciary, addressed it as a party issue. To say that, okay, it is not within our jurisdiction, it's the party's, it's a party issue affair, so to say. So, having said that, these cases, being read out, it's really, I would say it's an abuse to, to the mindset and of course, the intellectuals, not just intellectual, but constitutional mindset of Nigerian people. What do I mean by that? There are two cases before the law. The constitutional case, and of course, there is the law, as it stands. Now, the judiciary said, from our lordship wisdom, they gave, talking about the nitty-gritty now of the judgment, stating that, they addressed the issue based on, now, let me talk about the 25% FCT before I go into the forfeiture of the $460,000. Now, the 25%, the judiciary made it clear that the FCT shouldn't be treated differently. But I have a question to ask. If you said the FCT should be treated differently, why does the FCT have one minister? Why does the FCT have a minister appointed by the president?
I think Dr. Sadiq will answer that.
And now I'm just going there now. Why does the FCT, as it stands now, why does the constitution explicitly say 20, you ought to, in fact, I did a write-up, I don't know, I just wanted to, do this, the section 34, subsection, 4D separates the 36 states from the FCT. If you read 36 states from the FCT, and it said, when it held that before anyone can be seen to have been validly elected as president, he or she must score 1/4, right, of the vote in not less than 24 states of the 36 states of the federation. And I sometimes the judge, I haven't gone through the judgment. I begin to wonder, and I went back to the constitution. That was how I was able to put this down. And I begin to wonder, what does "and" mean? It means Mr. Douglas and Ambassador Victor. I'm giving Mr. Douglas one, and so if I give Mr. Douglas and I said, oh, if Ambassador does not matter, then that'll be forfeited, yeah? So going back, I think the parties involved, of course, they're taking out to the upper court. But for me, there's so many things that is unclear, and of course, this goes to question our constitution, as it were.
So, Dr. Bubaka, I'd like to ask you, how many states do we have in our country?
We've been used to 36 states and FCT, but previously, before now, when the reverse system,
36 and FCT.
yes,
That means,
37 states. Yeah, in the last translation of when they confronted or consulted before pronouncement of the result, it was necessary that Supreme Court explain explicitly what is the status of FCT, and inclusively, it was agreed, and the APC court says FCT is as the 37th based on the judgment.
Does it have
state.
a capital?
Yeah,
Like states and
FCT,
capital?
Federal Capital Territory. Maybe the capital is Abuja. You can call it that way.
So-
But obviously,
Are you talking about cities?
yeah, because if it's FCT, whether it's a capital, it's something else. But what we're talking, if it's a judiciary, that was why behind the camera I said, if there was a constitutional lawyer or someone who is more at that, so we don't preempt what we're going to tell. But what was, yeah, for better interpretation, but for what was interpreted for the reasons that the result were announced was that it's assumed 37 states. And to justify that, for the first time, I said that in the history of FCT, since the advent of 99 till date, the first time FCT were nominated as the minister. So we presume that for the first time, we feel, because I'm from Kwali, FCT here, so we feel like, okay, it is really interpreted in our favor that for the first time we have a minister representing FCT, just like other states.
Ambassador Victor Atewe,
Yeah.
what do you think, what are the impacts of the tribunal's decision on the landscape of the country?
Well, it falls on the two sides, because of course for those seemingly, who I'll call it, for those celebrating at the moment, and congratulations to them for the winning. For now, the impact, so to say, it's that it goes to a lot of questioning about our judiciary, on how laws and the technicalities that comes with it. For instance, saying that the constitution does not make provision for electronic transmission, and the last time I checked, our laws are acts, so to say. I mean, we have traffic act, which is like a law, which is a law, not like a law, it's a law, and the INEC electoral act, is a law, because INEC is a question of the law. So, but coming out to say that it is not well captured. So what does the Electoral Act says? So that, of course, is a law on its own. So if we look at all that, and all the whole, the front and back being stated by, of course, their lordship, for me, it puts us in a very shaky light, so to say, our judiciary, because it shows that justice in itself, it's questioning. It's not well served.
Okay, Doctor, you will agree with me that the last election of February 25 was the most keenly contested.
Yeah.
When you take a look at everything that transpired in that election, and the tension, everything. Now we're talking about the mood of the nation. When we talk about Nigeria and Nigerians and how everything played out, the aftermath of the declaration by INEC, and also the aftermath of the tribunal judgment on this. How do you decipher the mood of the nation?
Yeah, because you said the mood of the nations.
Yes.
We're realists, and if we're analyzing to people for people comprehension, then we should reawaken the sense in them. We're in the process of strategies of a party, but we have a system that we both on and we bank on. And one of the system is, even when the whites came to Nigeria, the only reason why they succeed was because there was divide and rule, there was law of assimilation. We are only concerned because the mood of the nation is because they are in a tossing mindset that everybody feel already hit by what was the prevailing situation, what is the financial or economic situation on the country, and what are the security and all the challenges that are coming. But unfortunately, for such strategies and people that are very well known about election planning and execution of laws, you don't actually preempt the fact that there was no way. It's the keenly most contested election, but unfortunately, it's an election that have a divide of less than 25 million votes, as against the previous elections. That it's an election that we have only about 18 in the bulk of this contest, in the contest of the office of the highest, the law jurisdiction of the Presidential Election Tribunal. We're talking of just less than 25 of 88 million registered voters. There is a completely voters apathy. One. Secondly, there were people dissatisfaction in going to contest in an election. Thirdly, there was divide between the oppositions that they refused to accept that fact, and they are chasing themselves till now. I keenly opened this program with saying, if we're talking elections, we shouldn't bring emotions. If we're analyzing situations, then we bring them as they are. They had a vote of 3 people. The 3 of the contestant, so to say, the the Labour Party, PDP, and even the NNPP were all in the same camp in the last election, 2019. In less than 2 years, the 3 of them went separate ways. Combinedly, if you bring their vote together, they are winners. but against one force of a continuous process. This is the only thing that good analysts don't tell to the people. And so they only take the talk, they talk to the whether what brings the mood. It's actually what activates your mood. If you know this fact, that these three people, Peter Obi, Atiku, and Konkoso, were in PDP in 2019. All of them went to the primaries and chose to work together. At the last of them all, the one that left the party was in 2022. At April, in a different Labour Party. And there's someone who had always consistently come to pick up the ticket. And after the election, he leaves the country.
Consistently.
Yeah, consistently. He always picked the ticket for the PDP for 2 or 3 occasions. And he will come back and still salvage his 7, 8 million, 10 million votes. For the first time, APC did not get. When CPC came with Buhari and he closely to the second person, to be the second person in the contest, Buhari only came in 10 months to do what he did. But for now, what we're saying is this. Have you sit down on a true analysis and think that if these votes were in one pocket, it would have given the opposition what they want? And now they are preaching it to the mode of the common person to think of because of their instability in the economic and all of this, the life facing in. Because if you're talking of mode, it has to do with what you're undergoing at the moment. So it's easier to point an accusing finger of a system that doesn't involve a person bringing the party that has been in the system, or maybe that would have been responsible for the situation, forgetting the analysis of they have broke their votes into 3, and that is divided. And we picked our things and won our election. Elections, even if it's ahead of Supreme Court, it would have still been translated the same way. I had asked a question, and I assume Ambassador will respond in telling me there's an expected number of millions votes from choke of votes that will come from this pocket to make a difference, that does not make a difference. For the first time, the Kadishians, that they so-called them, the KKKK, do not even come in favor of APC like they should. The Kaduna, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi. They didn't come like they should. We lost out Kano. Labour Party won FCT for the first time with 69%. Nobody went. There was a court case with the senatorial representative in FCT. They gave up. The other party, APC and Labour Party, gave up because, yeah, they won elections. We thought they won election because they won election. Ahmed Bola Tinubu lost out Lagos. These are
some of the reasons why.
But issue of the such is that elections are not won in the spot. Elections are won in a complete.
Ambassador is itching to react.
Yeah. You see. When they talk, I want to give it to his submission when he said, yes, of course, there was a divide and rule, method that worked. Yes, on that note, if the 3 had merged, I'll come together, and of course, politics is about a game of interest, and everybody comes to the fore to say, this is what I'm bringing on the table. But I haven't said that. He made mention of something, and thank God he said for the KKK, for the first time, the APC lost woefully. But if we look at the component that makes up winning in an election, it talks about what? 2/3, right? And if you are not, if you can't harness most of your key area, you lost it. And of course, they are giving it to numbers, coming from different angle, which of course we saw manipulation. You see, at this point, you see, they wouldn't want to accept that. Of course, I wouldn't expect them to. But the truth is, instances. Yeah, we saw a lot of voters intimidation in Lagos. We saw in Rivers State. We saw in some part of what's it called, in Ekiti, while they were still voting. I have someone, this is no joke, on ground while voting was still going on, they've started announcing the results. So there's so many fought and back, but of course I don't expect APC because, like they say, go to court.
Because when it's called manipulations, it needs an immediate response so that we don't get to misguide people.
We will continue this discussion in the second segment. Viewers, please don't go away. Let's go on a short break. Welcome back, viewers. This is still Issues in the News on 9 News Nigeria. I've had with me in the studio Dr. Abubakar Sadiq and Ambassador Victor Atewe.
Thank you.
And also my co-anchor, Na Douglas.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome,
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you.
We've been talking about this very interesting topic. I know you have followed the aftermath of the ruling. Doctor, I still want to take on you again. What does this slogan, all eyes on the judiciary, mean to you? Does it mean anything to you?
Yeah, it does.
All Nigeria.
It does actually.
I'm sorry to add to what she just asked you, and the fact that after there was this installation of billboards of all eyes on the judiciary and all that, and they clamped down on these billboards and all that. Is it necessary? Is it not a way of expressing opinion?
No, to be honest, it's as if I actually wanted to finish because I was about landing when you said about manipulations and all that. If evidence were forwarded and they are substantial, they would have been taken more serious because there wasn't issue of claims of any of the manipulative language that he used, because any party that lost out believed he was manipulated out. It's a natural language. On the issue of all eyes on the judiciary, where the first thing I said when I said, if we allow our emotions deal with translating or determining what, at the time the judiciary was to be pressured. It has never happened before now, where demonstrations and placards were carried in interest of trying to put pressure on the judiciary. Obviously, that is it.
Why do you see it?
Because obviously nowhere in the whole of the world that comes to decide what the judiciary do. The judiciary is purely based on
no, is not deciding.
No, it does. Did you even know what it is, like what they do to buy the space to place billboards? Whether it's allowed? Did you notice that even notices are not allowed within the court premises? Not to talk of putting billboards where already that people were already aware.
Have approved it.
No, the approve wasn't done. Let me tell you what happened. If you really want to know, they went to other states, most especially the neighboring state, to pay the outdoor advertisement company to come and advertise in order to instigate. It will interest you to know not just the billboards. People were stopped to come out of the axis of Nyanya on that day in the name of protest ahead of the judicial proceedings that will come based to translate an electoral tribunal based on facts and figures that were presented to be trashed out, to be read out. So when things like this are started doing, you will be worried, you will be disturbed. It was deliberate. People even want to know what was the reason behind the 2 days warning strike. It could all be parts because in a way the movement were already restricted just because there's going to be a final judgment. But to tell you that we are not bothered, we are not concerned, we went to Delhi to know that we have a commitment, whatever the fate of the judiciary, let it take precedence.
Didn't it suggest that he had already...
No, it is not, because he is not the one to take the judgment. And already there are people, all of the people that were around, including the number 2 person, was in the court. And all of these things, they don't interpret, anybody that is at the judge level, there's an APC court that you stand to be judged, to be punished when there's an issue of whether you manipulate, whether you turn the cases, and all of this part where the lawyer is not there, they could stand against and say, this thing that you're trashing out, it's against the law and section of the law. That was why I said, bringing 2 people that one is an ambassador, one is a politician, might also still be guided by, if there was a lawyer, he would tell us in all of this setting, they would have, the lawyers of APC, PDP or Labour Party would have challenged any of this dissatisfied issues.
Beyond that, Ambassador Victor, I know you have a lot to say on this.
You see, it's okay. You see, it is very like he rightly pointed out, and I believe that at the end of the proceedings, the lawyers, gave a press briefing, stating that of course they would take the case to the, to the APC court, and of course they need for and they believe that justice will be well served.
Do you still have hope? Do you believe in the judiciary? Do you still see it as being the last hope?
Honestly speaking, we what is playing out in the country, I have a very doubt, if justice will be served. Justice is about who controls the tunes, who dictates, who has the power as he speaks, you know, because like he said, I want to, you see, when you cajole people, if you read 48 Laws of Power, you see, one of the tools to show your powerful is to set fear. You know, we saw DSS giving out a note of warning against protests. These are our fundamental right to protest against something we feel we're being rigged. Yeah, but it's not violent. That's the word. You're supposed to provide us with security. It's okay. You can do whatever you do, but please do not destroy public property. Do not create public nuisance. But you are free to protest, and even happening in the Western world in what was it called? If not, okay. For instance, let's go back to what happened during to Trump. If it were to be Nigeria, trust me, Trump will have his way. President Trump would have his way. But the judiciary stood his ground and said, you can't bully us because the system says no. You can't bully us. For the first time in history in America, they invaded the Capitol. It has never happened.
Okay.
I would like to respond to him when you said, I said in the Western War, there was a case between Hillary and the Trump's election. Not the Biden election, the Trump. The Hillary, what happened? The Electoral College. What happened after the Electoral College? It was served like the elections that were done. You were talking about 2/3 majority. Simple majority wins elections. And that was why in the Electoral College, in the actual election, Hillary actually have an edge over Trump.
Yeah.
But the Electoral College decided what happened. And even when there was a light tribunal, it never took this undertone that American came protesting, it must be Hillary. All eyes on the judiciary. Not like we were setting a precedent. If we said we're coming from America, yeah, that would bring back to Nigeria if we're taking laws into our hands. In Nigeria, I beg to be corrected. They've never been, even the agitation of lack of inclusion that FCT done, no one go scot-free without violence. It only you only instigate to start whether a demonstration or rally, but you don't even know how it ends. Okay. And the same has been happening. A lot of fronts, they had never been either a policeman or a system or the property of government have not been destroyed. Never.
Okay, Doctor. I think there's a very big issue here when it comes to this freedom of expression, freedom to protest and all that. You know, Nigerians, you will agree with me, are not given that full right to, protest without any form of violence and all that. But, Nigerians watch with keen interest what happened recently. Maybe when anti-government protesters come, they clamp down on them. But when pro-government protesters come, it actually happened. And there's one popular one that's going around, with I think one former agitator.
No, we have to say that's how it Tokubo. It happened. It came in the court the morning before, and nobody did anything.
A lot of people are really agitated about it. That they give them free hand. They say anything they want to say, but when the other people come, it is not like that.
As the media, have you done justice to go to the Eagle Square and realize the other parties were in there? No. All of them were at the same Eagle Square. Everybody on the same protest, on the same day of the tribunal. I can share some of the pictures you want. No, the issue is that everybody that was demonstrating fairly and was there, had its calm, stayed within, wait for the court judgment and taking correspondence because most were watching. There was even a live at the same Eagle Square. There was no... When people want to say something, the media, you own us the right to know, let us know, because the freedom that people even express more in Nigeria comes with media. Whether it's a written media or it's actually the televised media, it's more expected of you. And I keep saying this, if you remember one of our programs sometime, in a media program, in a program like this, in a media party where you chat and say something of analyzing the Nigerian situation, someone who was anchoring was actually allow himself to be played in. And I told him that, you see, your mindset of a psychological branding in media overseas will be actually questioned. Are you for a media? Are you allowing people know what you're supposed to know? Or we're just actually trying to make...
These are the feelings we get.
But for the issues of whether Asari Dokubo is a Nigerian, he picks people that he comes with, but the same day, there was Labour Party, there was PDP at the same venue. What they didn't allow happened because, like I said, 2 days before the event, there was already issue of going all eye on the judiciary, and all of that was already causing havoc at the entrance point of FCT. But people that were within FCT, demonstrated, and peacefully. They weren't even demonstrated, but they were carrying a placard of their interest and what they were waiting for, passing their message. Yeah, Asari Dokubo was focused on, because he also is a Nigerian, and he had the supporters that are also for the party of the president that was declared, and the other ones who doesn't have also stayed where they stayed.
Weren't you surprised when the president issued a statement about unsolicited visits by the Asari boys to the presidency, and that even his first visit was even the kind of reputation it is telling on the presidency and all that, and the kind of statements coming as in threatening Nigerians that when you come out, we'll do this, we'll do that, and all that. Is it
You just said something about freedom to life, freedom to speech, and this is one. Expressively, the president who needs to say something that he said. It's a personal opinion about an individual in the country he governs. That should tell you that we expected, because of that bitter word, Absari should have actually go anti, not pro, on a very sincere note. So if he had come, obviously then he has a mind position as a Nigerian, not as Asari that he is, or what Nigerian view him to be. That aside, what we're saying about is the Nigerian mood, the whole of the elections, the confidence in the judiciary. The judiciary, like I said, they are supposed to be independent, or they are, and whatever that is questioned that is not doable, they have a punishable aspect of where all of
report is not looked into and is not being, taken into consideration. Of course, like they said, there's no abnormality in the election. It was good and fine if you read the judgment. So meaning that nobody was intimidated, nothing happened, no threat was made, on social media, and everything was fine and all good. Having said that, so international, what for me, what this does to us, internationally, it just goes to say that as a Nigerian, once you have the money, you have the power, the wherewithal, anything goes. And it doesn't speak well of us internationally.
Are you indirectly saying that the highest bidder got the judgment?
Well, I wouldn't want to, because anything I say here might be me, but however, that's what played out.
No,
That's what played out.
I stand to be corrected. You see, when you say some things that you don't have fact to, it's built up that sometimes we give analysis as guide and privilege people in the studio. Not because we're better than people that are out there, but let it be whatever content you're bringing out, you have a justifications to. And everybody is entitled to a personal opinion that you mustn't feed the people. But when you said higher bidder, it tends actually to question your nationality and your passion for your country, because it's also a right is actually
I
both
love
ways.
my country.
Aside,
That is the reason why.
let me learn, because the issue is when you said the highest bidder, the language doesn't go well. Not even with the party provisions of what people said, or the nationality and questioning of the citizenship, or situations where you doubt what proceed. As a Nigerian that you are, you can question any part of this thing and you can challenge them anywhere. You have such right. But telling of an aspect that you're not sure of, it's actually very, very not cool with the nationality responsibility of indigenous and citizens of the country. But that's personal anyway with your conclusion. But what I'm saying is that if there was not process, they should have gone and said, okay, they feel like the highest bidder do, so there's no need to go to Supreme Court. Unlike what you started saying, example, and I cited example, I'm a benefit to this judgment, that the judgment that favor FCT, that FCT got a minister, was simply because it's a 37th state and we got a minister now for the first time. Let's enjoy it.
Without a capital?
Obviously, whether there's because the movement of the Lagos, you see, when you keep asking about the capital or no capital, the issue is that what was
Then
the
he
law
said the state still
establishing
not recognized
FCT.
in the Constitution of Nigeria, and he said, and the FCT.
Well, he made a point. Maybe in our next edition, we will need to bring a lawyer.
Thank you. So he knows that whether at the end in the whether it's a link word, whether it's just an inclusion of separation
But beyond
functions.
this, Ambassador Victor, don't you think that we should join hands to work with this government, because Nigeria is the interest?
Thank you.
Well, for us, for me personally, the Nigerian project is forever going. Like you said, I'm a Nigerian, regardless of where I go in the world. My green passport still stands, even if I have a dual citizenship. It still stands. Even for now, I don't. But it's my prayer that we Nigerians can have a fresh breath here. Nigerian can really enjoy its dividends of the supposed democracy we seems to be practicing. I'm entitled to my word. I have my because if I'm not saying it just because I want to make it look good.
Yes,
I want to be but I have to say because the truth is, if I see some disservice to the common man, so doctor might be privy to, like he privy to the higher man, to some network. I'm privy to some network. But the question, I don't speak for myself. If I speak for myself, I become very greedy. I become unpatriotic. So I'm speaking for I see these people, I meet them, and I have a first-hand meeting with the downtrodden, and the feedback is not so. If you're telling me we practice democracy and we're not seeing the effect in our lives, of course it's worrisome. So, but we can only but hope for the best. We can only but support whoever that is in power. Yes.
What final message do you have to Nigerians?
Well, Nigerians, let's just keep praying for the country, loving the country, and do not give up, regardless of what happened. In the piece of Dika, I hope I got his name right. Is a poet. Is a poet. Sorry, he said it took Americans 86 years, to vote, to be able to vote in America, and it took South Africans 82 years to be able to govern in their own country. You understand? So meaning that the change is not just, it's not a sprint, neither is it a marathon, it's a cross-country run. So it's not going to be one-off. It's going to be a continuous process. We need to engage, question the process. Do not be bottled by threat wherever it's coming from. Because we have no other place to call home. If it goes down, we all go down.
And finally, do you think you still have confidence to win at the Supreme Court?
Obviously, because we know that the people we're fighting have no case, and that gives us the relaxation. But obviously, for what I wanted him to say and what I want us to believe is that, like he said, Nigeria is actually big, and whether you're close to the downtrodden or not, he knows I've been in the contest for chairmanship, for House of Reps. So I am also a local person per se, and politics, they said, is local, just like happiness is local. And believe me, where we're going and the hope we're anticipating, I think we're getting to a brighter
and final note, what message do you have for Nigerians? To
come, let's join hands and make Nigeria a greater country, because we have no place like home. And the only way that we get to get Nigeria that is better is to disabuse our minds. Because, to be honest, I thought it was just in the school politics that where we believe that the sentimentality in ourselves have beclouded our senses of reasoning, that we can't even enjoy the home that we live, not to talk of a larger society. That alone will go a long way. Religion leaders and parents and the traditional leaders, which I happen to be, must embark on doing this, because they are by permanency a call that is not seasoned. If we think that we look at Nigeria as just a commodity of a party expenditure, we're going to be spending them and not have accountability. Only the people that are licensed today. Let's believe in the Nigerian project of a mini Nigeria, from the units of a component ward to the national. We might have a greater Nigeria than anticipation of the national to have a trickle-down effect, as always expected.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure having you here. We will do this again next time. Thank you so much. Viewers, thank you very much. Na Douglas, it's been a pleasure always being here with you. Viewers, thank you very much. Numbers are down there. Drop a comment for us, hit the like button on our social media handles, and stay tuned. Until we see you next time, this is Issues in the News on 9 News Nigeria. My name again is Sipo Doity.